Hello and welcome to the Horror of It All. Today I'm going to be talking about some recommendations for Vinegar Syndrome for their upcoming Black Friday sale, which is coming within the next couple days as of this video. I basically just went through my collection and wanted to come up with some movies that are absolute favorites, but also I have noticed haven't been talked about as much because they're either older and they get foreshadowed by newer releases, which happens because, there's just so many good releases. So, I pretty much think I covered everything that will be on sale. If there's anything that sneaks in, I apologize, but they still are great and they're still our favorites. So, I guess I could just dive in. I'm not going to go too into detail with a lot of these because some of these I've already gone into detail on other episodes of my podcast. First is an older one. A lot of these, I'll just say off the bat so I don't keep repeating myself, probably don't have slipcases anymore. But one of my absolute favorites that I seem to watch over and over again, so it was definitely a good buy, is Pledge Night. Now, that's what it would probably look like for you, or that, depending on, because I don't remember which one is the original cover. Pledge Night is, as Vinegar Syndrome says, a truly one-of-a-kind blending of post-Animal House, TNA sex comedy, and gore-filled supernatural slasher. Pledge Night. Definitely check that out. It's one of the older releases that I don't hear a lot about. There will be more in here that will be way more obscure, I guess, for some people. And if you're new to Vinegar Syndrome, this is good to dive into the back catalog because they got a vast amount of movies that are just great. Including this one, which I know doesn't have a slipcase, so it's going to look like that for you. But sorry about the glare. Is Psychos in Love. Now, Psychos in Love is I guess, regional movie. It was filmed in the mid-'80s in Connecticut. It's almost like it's a silly movie, but it's also a horror movie, and it's also has, before anybody really did that on television, almost like a reality show type thing where they do like little interviews in it. Bloody and hilarious, Psychos in Love is an absurd, homegrown horror comedy which alternates between gratuitous killing scenes and self-aware parody of a romantic comedy. Psychos in Love. And if you haven't seen it and you do check it out, there's a really good chance, especially if you do like it and it doesn't annoy you, the song is going to get stuck in your head. That's the original slip. But I know there's some people that still go after the slip, so figured I'd show it anyway. Another old release, which is an old favorite of mine. The first two were movies that I discovered because of Vinegar Syndrome, which most of their releases I do that. I am a huge horror fan, and I always have been, and movies in general, really. But Vinegar Syndrome is that one label that still surprised me, and I still find stuff. It's almost like finding stuff at a video store when you were growing up. But this one is from Norman J. Warren, and it's called Prey. That's the slip there. Again. This is kind of like an alien type movie. Prey is a brooding study in sexual desire and loneliness, punctured with shocking violence and suspense. And like I said, throw in an alien, and you got that. Some old VHS people might have even seen the cover before and not realized that it's the same movie if they haven't watched it, because there is a VHS that I always used to come across when I was younger that pretty much gives away the ending. However, you don't really know that until you're watching the movie. Prey. My next one is a box set of sorts. It's the Scanner Cop 1 and 2 4Ks. They come in this nice sturdy box, as well as with slip cases. I really enjoyed these. Again, I had seen a lot of the Scanner Cop stuff but I had not seen these ones. It was definitely one that I was holding off to see if somebody would release them, and you'd be able to see them in all their glory. Now, if you don't know anything about scanners, it's basically the series. It's basically about these people that can scan people, and they can get into their head, and if one's more powerful than the other, their head can blow up. Or they can do things like this guy right here, where there's little things coming out of his head. Both of them are really good. I like the first one a little bit better than the second one, but Scanner Cop is pretty great. I'm not going to go into too much detail with that one, but I believe you can still get it just like this, and I believe this should be on sale. Now, this one I am questioning if it will be, but it's still a great recommendation. This one came out within the past few months. I can't remember exactly what month. That's why. I'm not sure. But Shallow Grave. This is one that I know some people have heard people talk about. Some people are a little off-putted by the ending. I can't really go into that and give what I think from the ending. I personally like the ending just because it's one of those, like, figure out your own thing. Packed with nail-biting suspense from beginning to end, Shallow Grave is an edge-of-your-seat, twist-filled Hitchcockian thriller with very strong slasher tendencies. Shallow Grave. Now, this is an older release. I wasn't able to get the slip with this when it was available, but it's Splatter University. Splatter University is a classic no-budget horror in a trashy, consistently absurd 80s that reveals in the best and worst tropes of the genre. Splatter University. This is the original artwork. Alright, next one is another older release. That was a pretty big surprise. I mean, I figured being Vinegar Syndrome that it'd be good, but this is really, really good. This is probably what it will look like for anybody else who's new to it, if they just buy it on the sale. Sudden Fury. Sudden Fury is definitely a really good, fun movie. A riveting and criminally underrated Hitchcockian thriller. Ranks in one of the finest forgotten films to emerge out of Canada's mid-70s tax shelter era. Sudden Fury. Huge, great recommendation. This is one from, let's see, 2018. Incubus. This one is maybe a middle of the road, maybe more so talked about of the older ones, but I genuinely like it. It's definitely a fun one. An intense, disturbing supernatural slasher. And the slip is pretty cool. I know that's gone as well. The Incubus. This is another one that I'm familiar with the director, Nico Masterakis, but I hadn't seen it. In the Cold of the Night, look like that. An ultra-stylized, De Palma-esque neo-noir erotic thriller from cult director Nico Masterakis. Highly, highly recommend this one. This one kind of gets lost in the shuffle sometimes, and I like to mention it whenever I can. Some of these I have mentioned in other videos, but In the Cold of the Night. This is one that came out this year, but I believe it would be one of the ones for the first time should be on sale, is All American Murderer. I believe you can still get this awesome slip, too. Look at that. Christopher Walken stars in it. A twisted hybrid slasher and giallo, All-American Murderer is a sole theatrical feature by acclaimed actor and TV director Anson Williams. Really, really cool movie. Again, not going to go into too much detail. It's just a recommendation. But I highly recommend that, as well as I do a lot of these, but some of them more so than others even. This is Blood Games, which is one that has been talked a lot about. I don't believe that's how it'll look. A shockingly violent revenge thriller that, despite its early 90s release date, is an unflinching in its brutality as the roughest exploitation films of the 70s, and definitely feels that way. Blood Games, a very, very fun one. This one, The Caller, I've heard about a mixed bag with this sometimes, but to me it feels almost like throughout the movie it mainly feels like a play, but you're not exactly sure what's going on. There's really only two people in the movie, Malcolm McDowell and Madeline Smith. But without giving too much away, and this might even be too much, kind of turns into a bit of a Twilight Zone-esque. But yeah, that pretty much is the gist of the movie. But The Caller. This is an old classic, which I've recommended a few times. And it was one of their famous, as they're going to be doing on this sale, slipcases for older releases that I was able to get. This is the older release, which I believe is how you get it now. It probably will have a clear case, but Christmas Evil. A lot of people, some people, not a lot, but some people, I think, going into it, even if you didn't grow up with it or something, are expecting more of a slasher. But it has slasher tropes, but it's more or less to me, like a descent into madness. Like, it's more of a psychological thing where you're seeing the guy gradually more and more go insane until he genuinely believes that he's Santa Claus. But with the holidays coming again, it's one I watch every year, Christmas Evil. And if you can come across the slipcase is pretty cool too. Another one that I had seen a lot growing up, but I never had watched, seeing this cover of Deadline. One of the true hidden gems of Canadian horror cinema, an unflinchingly grim, twisted, and cynically comedic study of a man's slow descent into madness. Well, that's kind of what I was saying about Christmas Evil, but this isn't necessarily like Christmas Evil, but in a similar vein. Deadline, great movie. Another good one for the holidays coming up that I had heard of for years and years, and thankfully, thanks to Vinegar Syndrome, I finally get to see it. Now, I will say for some that some more than others, but it is in French, but it's totally worth it. It is Deadly Games, Dial Code Santa Claus. Now, if you want to check this out and you have Shudder, I believe it might still be on Shudder. I'm not really sure. But Joe Bob did it last year, I think. So if you watched The Last Drive-In, it's a dazzling mix of thriller, action, and horror, long rumored to be unofficially inspired by one of the biggest Hollywood blockbusters of the 90s. Talking about Home Alone. Which I was skeptical of, but after watching it, I do see what they're talking about. But at the same time, I don't really know if a movie like this, the makers of Home Alone really saw. But maybe, I don't know. But I definitely recommend it. Deadly Games. It is a 4K, but it does come with a Blu-ray as well. Now, this one I know was talked about quite a bit when it first came out, but it's kind of died down. But I still highly recommend it. It is so much fun. It's a blending of grindhouse classic with perfectly embodies the mid-70s. This is one of those movies that is, of course, Vinegar Syndrome put it out. This is a classic Vinegar Syndrome type of movie, and I'm talking about Death Promise. Fun movie. Filthy rich landlords get away with murder. It's time they pay for it, is the tagline. All right. This one is, again, a bit of a mixed bag for some people, but it's also one that had a slipcase added later on for one of their older releases. Because, I mean, this is number 69, and we're almost 400 now. So, Some aren't big fans of it. I like to mention that because not everybody's the same, but these are my recommendations. And if you watch any of my videos and agree with a lot of the things like that I do like and I do recommend, but I actually had a lot of fun with this. I was very surprised. I wasn't expecting too much out of it, but it was a pleasant surprise. And I'm talking about Don't Go in the Woods. I think the artwork on the case is even better than the slip. The slip is cool, but it's just basically filled with lo-fi effects and black humor. Don't Go in the Woods remains one of the quintessential regional slasher films of the early 80s. Don't go in the woods. And it's not Don't Go in the Woods alone. That was mainly the tagline. They added alone. That's not part of the title. But it did. Vinegar Syndrome did put it on the spine. But as far as I know, it's not part of the title. This is one that I've recommended numerous times and never hear anybody talk about, but I personally love this movie. I watched it again recently, still love it just as much, and I'm talking about Grave Robbers. And I'm not talking about the Spanish Grave Robbers that they also put out. This one was actually put out earlier. A darkly humorous and vaguely supernatural story of necrophilia. Grave Robbers is a gruesomely black comedy about the meaning of love and lust after death. That sounds morbid, but it's a lot of fun. It's definitely one of those, like, you feel like you're trapped kind of movies. The main girl in it, you keep feeling like she's not going to get away, she's not going to get away. I'm not going to give away if she does or she doesn't, but such a fun movie, and it's one of my highly recommend. Like, if someday when I'm able to painstakingly make like a top 10 or something, Vinegar Syndrome, that's painful just to say, this is a really good contender of being on there, and it's not talked about enough. Definitely pick this up. It'll probably be really cheap. It is an older release. It came out again in 2018. I'm talking about Grave Robbers, and I'm talking about the I believe American Grave Robbers. I believe that's where it was filmed, but it's not the Spanish one. Grave Robbers. Okay, this one came out this year, and it's kind of always been a favorite of mine. I'm huge into Italian movies in general, be it horror, be it giallo, be it spaghetti western. I have my favorites, but any subgenre really. This is Umberto Lenzi's Hitcher in the Dark. You probably can still get this slip. I've always loved this movie, but when I rewatched it, I think I loved it even more. It's definitely just got that really sinister, like you feel the serial killer. If not, you feel like, it's hard to explain. But directed by one of the true godfathers of Italian horror and exploitation cinema, Umberto Lenzi, in this ultra-violent mix of suspense, thriller, and action. Hitcher in the Dark. Highly, highly recommend, especially if you're an Italian horror fan and you haven't seen it, or if you're just an Umberto Lenzi fan, whichever, or all of the above. Hitcher in the Dark. This is an older release. This had a really cool slipcover. If you want to track it down, it's up to you, but otherwise the cover's still good. Body Melt. Really cool. It even has like a warning sticker on the back. Let's see. A slime-filled cult classic, Body Melt remains one of the last great Ozploitation films. Gross-out gore effects, biting black comedy, and throbbing techno-esque score. It's a lot of fun. The title kind of tells you what you need to know. It's a Body Melt movie, and it's called Body Melt. So, I mean, you can't really get more to the point than that. But if you like Ozploitation and you like Body Melt movies, check it out. Body Melt. I believe you can still get this movie. I don't think it's out of print or anything, but I know you can't. They won't have this cool slip, which is the logo of the company that starts the whole thing. All right, cruising right along. This is another one that I find isn't mentioned a lot, but I can also see where it's definitely like a niche thing where if you happen to like really low budget sci-fi movies, I think it's a lot of fun, and it's a double feature: Battle for the Lost Planet and Mutant War. I had a lot of fun with this, and Matt Mittler's in it, who starred in The Mutilator. So if you like The Mutilator, he's in that, and he didn't do a whole lot that I know of. But yeah, that's really the best way to describe it. It's almost like an apocalyptic, like sci-fi movie with super ultra low budget, no budget type of thing, but it's a lot of fun. I think I like Battle for the Last Planet a little bit more than its sequel, Mutant War, but still fun. This one I've also mentioned before, but again, it's kind of died down, and I figured I want to try to bring it up to the forefront again. One of the most absurd movies I've ever seen. Never heard of it before, Vinegar Syndrome, but I'm talking about Uninvited. Uninvited, a mind-boggling piece of late 80s horror weirdness, mixing lo-fi creature effects, explosive gore, and crime thriller subplots, and fairly logical cat monster. I don't know if that's what they're meaning with that, but yeah, it's kind of that. It's basically like this. They're trapped on a ship, and there's a cat that is fine until certain things happen, and like cat monster comes out of the cat's like mouth, and it's absurd. And if you like absurdity and fun stuff like that, Uninvited. If you're not into something like that with anything I described, then maybe you want to stay away from it. It's entirely up to you. My next one is, when I saw this also had a slip when they did the like classic slips, bringing them back, but at that point I didn't end up buying it for whatever stupid reason. I would never do that again, but this is basically everything Vinegar Syndrome is rolled into one movie. I'm talking about Raw Force. Lots of fun. It even has a ending that is like, oh, cool, but then you've realized, oh, this movie's this old, that never happened. Kind of similar to New York Ninja, which I also highly recommend. Won't be on sale, but it's their first VSP. I did a video unboxing for it, but yeah, Raw Force is a lot of fun. I am gonna describe it, let them describe it, because it's this a virtually smorgasbord of over-the-top sleaze, mixing zombies, cannibals, outrageous action, gore, copious amounts of nudity, and starring exploitation greats Cameron Mitchell and Vicky Diaz. That's really what it is. It's pretty much everything you can think of for exploitation, all slammed into one movie. This next one I was hugely surprised by, and I had such a great time with. I'm talking about Satan's Blood. That was it's also Spanish, I believe, but there is an English track. Fiendishly perverse blending of sleazy sex and gore violence. But it's also produced, or is it produced? No. Yeah, produced by the Juan Piquer Simone, who did the infamous Pieces. Don't expect Pieces or anything, but this is a really, really good movie. When I first saw it, I had the feeling of, it's unfortunate that this wasn't more seen, because I think that this could have been a classic. Personally, I know high praise for it and bold promise, but that's how I feel about it. Satan's Blood. Another one that I didn't get out that I feel like I should have, but I wanted to mention, well, I'll get back to that. This one was super old, well, not super old, but it feels so much longer because they've released so much in the past like 5 years. I remember getting this on a whim at a convention, and that's initially how, as far back as 2013, like right after they started, I was buying from them at conventions, and then gradually started doing when they started doing sales and stuff like that. But this was a one-off thing from a convention, and now that I'm saying it, I think it's at a print, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I still highly recommend it because it was a pleasant surprise. Horror House on Highway 5. Not much of a budget. One of the most confusing and compelling homemade horror films ever made. I didn't find it that confusing. Future music video director Richard Casey's debut feature film, shot over years and nights and weekends in delirious college oddball gore, ludicrous plot twist, and general milieu of weirdness unlike anything else in cinema history. And as I said, I think this is gone, but if you ever come across it, it was better than I expected. Really, it really was. Anyway, another older one that I always seem to recommend to people, but also doesn't get talked about a lot, is Blue Vengeance. Blue Vengeance is a strange mashup of horror and action film, combines gory killings and drug-altered underground rock club scenes around like Times Square and the CBGBs and of the 80s in New York. So it's definitely one of those snapshots of New York. So I always have fun with this. I haven't watched it in a little while, but I do want to revisit it again soon. Blue Vengeance, one of the highly recommended ones. I don't know if it'd be in top 10, but it'd be maybe top 15, top 20. Love that movie. Sorry, I'm trying to think of what... Oh, that's what I was trying to think of. The Suckling. I'm not going to get it now because it is over there. But I didn't have it in my pile because I didn't grab it. But The Suckling is basically about this abortion place where this like little monster thing, somebody gives birth to it and they flush it down the toilet and it actually grows and it comes back and it actually kills people. The Suckling. I highly recommend that. I didn't grab that. I only have a couple more Vinegar Syndromes, and then I have a few partner labels, which I won't go too deep into, but I will say super favorites. I did want to mention one box set, because I know a lot of people have been mentioning the Forgotten Jolly ones, which those are great too. Of course, I highly recommend those. But I don't see a lot of people talking about this, and I genuinely had a lot of fun with these. They're in varying degrees of how good... how they are, but I believe you can still get this, and it will probably be on sale now, is Televised Terror. Are You Alone in the House is, I believe, is a 70s TV movie. A classic made for TV thriller that oozes late 70s charm and early twist and turn. Are You in the House Alone? I don't really want to go into the plot necessarily, but that one is probably my favorite of the box set. Second being A Child in the Night. It's a really young Elijah Wood in 1990, and he witnesses a murder. Made-for-TV thriller that slowly morphs into a giallo and almost slasher territory. Really good. Calendar Girl Murders. If this was by itself, I don't think I'd necessarily recommend it, or high praise, I should say. It's good, it's watchable, but these are the two, I think, in the box that I really love. And this is like more of like a bonus movie kind of thing, in my opinion. Now, some people could think the opposite of that. Who knows? It's everybody has their own opinion. I know I'm going a little long here, but hey, I have pretty much all of their releases, so it was kind of hard to narrow it down, and believe it or not, I did narrow it down. Lastly, for the Vinegar Syndromes, which I've highly recommended before and would definitely be in that top tier if I did an order. Fade to Black. I know, a lot of people have talked about Fade to Black, but I still can't believe that this has finally been released. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. It's just, all you really need to know is the tagline. People used to laugh at Eric Bidford. Now with every performance, he knocks them dead. Okay, that's not the tagline I was thinking of. Eric Bidford lives for the movies. Sometimes he kills for them too. And I mean, I've been very surprised by a few that either didn't like it or discovered it now and and it just wasn't for them. But if you're a movie fan and like really engrossed in movies as I am, and a movie like this comes along, I'm very surprised if certain people don't love it. I mean, I have both slipcases. That's how obsessed I am. There was no question when this came out last Black Friday, I believe. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure. I feel like it is. But this is always my highly, highly recommend. Is Fade to Black. I feel like you can still get like one of these slipcases. I don't remember which one. Either way, regardless, it has amazing features. It's an amazing movie, in my opinion. In a weird way, not like I'm used to not being for everybody, but if you're a huge movie fan, I'm surprised by the few I've heard. I digress. Fade to Black, highly, highly recommend. Out of all these, if you buy one movie, Fade to Black. I love it that much. And again, it's my opinion. I'm not saying it's a fact, but it's so I just love it. And that's it for my Vinegar Syndrome recommendations. There's still tons more. Like, just go, like, once you buy what you want, go back through the catalog. Just read synopsis. There's just so much great stuff that they have in varying degrees of, like, this movie's amazing on its own, on its merits of just that it's amazing, or movies can be amazing because of how bad they are. There's just both all over both sides of the spectrum and in between. I love Vinegar Syndrome. In Vinegar Syndrome we trust. I can't claim that. Somebody else said that, but it's true. It's true for me anyway. Anyway, I wanted to mention a couple of partner labels. This should be on sale, I believe. Yeah, this came out last year. I was like, wow, like with this movie. It's a found footage movie, so right there, that'll either turn you off or be intrigued or be like, oh, I'll try. The McPherson tapes. It's an AGFA Bleeding Skull release. It's probably how you get it now. Pick it up. It's probably cheap. It's one of if not the first found footage movie there was, I believe. But pleasantly surprised by this. I really, really liked it. This one came out earlier this year. I think it should be on sale, but it's also found footage-y, which is basically anyway. The case is even like a VHS tape, like that you would find. Donnie's Bar Mitzvah. If you like gross out comedies or inappropriateness or whatever, Donnie's Bar Mitzvah is a lot of fun. There is some raunchy scenes that are a little bit overboard, I will say that. There's great cameos by like Danny Trejo. Not for the faint of heart or easily offended. See the movie that New York Times calls horny and has been met with confusion and duration from your local rabbi. You just want a nice party movie, I guess. Donnie's Bar Mitzvah is a lot of fun, I think, as long as you can handle the gross out stuff. Or if you think that's funny. Maybe some people think gross out's funny, but out of the partner labels is a really cool slip. I think you might be able to even still get the VHS style slip. Donnie's Bar Mitzvah. And the one that seems to be the common consensus of people for their partner labels of liking it the most. And I wanted to pick my favorite three. I bought all of their releases. I still have one to watch, but Fun City. Great Fun City. Their first one, Alphabet City. Such a great movie. It's basically just about this guy that's like a collector type guy for the mob-ish, I believe. And he just wants to get out of it. One of those type of things. I loved it. Alphabet City. A really pleasant surprise, I Start Counting, is a 70s like coming of age drama. Not horror or anything, but I really liked it, and not necessarily my third favorite. Might even be my favorite of theirs. And last, but definitely not least, Walking the Edge. Another great one from Fun City, which all three of these should be on sale. I believe they don't all come with their slipcases or anything, but I definitely highly recommend Walking the Edge. So yeah, this was a bit long-winded, but I usually am. As always, I wanna thank my wife because she supports my obsession here. I guess it could be worse. I guess it could be drugs or something, but this is my drug, Vinegar Syndrome. Movies in general, but especially Vinegar Syndrome. So I can't wait for the sale. Everybody have fun with it. I'm personally super excited for Flesh for Frankenstein finally on a 4K, so that should be fun. And Creature, and whatever, really all that they've announced, and the slipcases and the box that I'm hoping for a certain box slip or whatever. So yeah. Anyway, this has been the horror of it all, and I'm hopefully gave some people some good recommendations. Sorry to bombard you again. I did narrow it down, believe it or not. But anyway, have fun with the sale. Check out my other videos. I do have other Vinegar Syndrome videos. I'm gonna start putting all those in one folder because they seem to be the majority of what I've been doing. I'm not a just Vinegar Syndrome podcast or videos, but I do a lot of them because it's my favorite label. But yeah, check those out. Check out some of my podcast episodes. There's a really good one on there of my ranking of Friday the 13th, which I did with my wife. And yeah, this has been the horror of it all. I'm Eric. Until next time,